Hey, what's going on? My name's Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In this episode, it's an interview. I have an interview for you. And I thought when I met this person initially that we were not going to get along. We were not going to get along, but here she is. She was awesome enough to come on the podcast. And I didn't think we were going to get along because of religion. I've had my experiences with it, and it's just not for me. It seemed that I ran into a lot of hypocrisy and judgment and all these things that made me just very lonely. So that was one of the things I dismissed. But it's different for this person. It's different. And, also I talk a lot about impact rather than intention. And wow, this person is all about intention. That's their whole mantra. I definitely learned something great from our conversation, and I hope you get something out of it too. Are you ready? Let's go. So right now I have a guest here that I'm really excited for you to listen to. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Awesome. Hi, Lee. Hi, everyone. I am Karina KOLTAI, and I am a holistic wellness coach, and I focus on teaching people how to set intentions so that it can be easier and quicker and more effective to create the life that you most desire. I have found that when you set intentions for everything that you do, it happens. And so you just have to get really clear about what is most important to you and the life that you want to create, and do that each and every day, and then even setting intentions for each and every moment and each and every. So for example, this, it's like, what are the possibilities of this podcast? What are the possibilities of um, of everything that we do?
Yeah, definitely. So essentially, it seems it's like goal setting, just moment to moment goal setting, saying, I'm going to accomplish this thing. I'm going to do
So
this.
that's it's a good way to say it. Like, if in my book, on the cover it says intention, and the definition of intention is: one is the goal, purpose, or aim. Two is healing process of a wound. And I really like to have both of those on there because it to me it's seeing the end before you get started. So I set goals all the time of, okay, I'm going to plant my garden today. In planting my garden today, my intention for that is to have healthy plants that will feed my family, right? So you see the different, like, it's not just
Mm-hmm.
the action that I'm looking at, it's what do I want to come from that. So as I set goals, as I take actions, I set intentions for that action, what the outcome that I want to see.
All right. So that makes sense to me. I mean, thanks for clarifying, the difference between the two, because like a goal, it definitely can set that, say, I've got a goal and I'm going to set it. And there it is, like you just explained. I'm going to create a podcast. But my intention with this podcast is to reach as many people as possible. So this is just a vehicle to reach as many people as possible to inspire them in some way. So I understand exactly what you're talking about. And there's a huge difference, it seems, between the
There
two.
is a huge difference, yes, because it's like when you say, I'm going to have a podcast, and then your goal is to reach as many people as possible so that they can um, connect and have a community and have those
Yeah.
possibilities, right, in relationships.
Right. Right. Yeah, and so, I can really see the ending. I can really see the ending to it. I can see what and it kind of lends itself towards the why. Why are you doing what you do? Why are you setting this goal? And then you're like, well, yeah, to do X, Y, Z, to make sure I can feed my family with these nice crops. It's really, really powerful and impactful. It makes a difference I think it makes a difference in motivation.
I think it makes a difference in motivation. I think it makes a difference in clarity that, okay, so for example, if we want to have a relationship, right? So I desire to find a healthy partner. And but my intention is to find a healthy partner that is not only healthy physically, but healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, financially. So I get really specific in my intentions for that relationship. And so I it, the more specific that we get, um, it provides clarity. And the clearer that we are, we're always creating our reality. Whether we do it intentionally or
Hmm.
not is up to us. It's like, oh, or am I just allowing whatever to happen and allowing my mind
Hmm.
to think what it wants to think, right? Think about the past, think about the future, and it be in control, or am I going to set my intentions, set what I would like to see happen to happen?
Yeah, and it's really important to be able to know what you want actually, so to get more specific on what it is, because there've been many times, I'm sure many other people can relate to saying, I'm going to find a healthy partner. I'm going to find somebody that's right for me. And you run into somebody, you think they're right for you, but you get exactly what you know and it couldn't put it out there. So in my case, I was looking for someone. So I had these relationships where I'd get in them and I'm like, oh, we're always fighting. Let me get out of the relationship. And I'd say, well, I know I don't want XYZ. And then I go find someone who doesn't have XYZ and we're still fighting. And I'm like, well, I did get what I want, but there's no real clarity about exactly how my relationship is going to look. What does a good partner look like? I mean, what does a partner do to make me feel fulfilled or happy or supported? And I should be able to know exactly what those things look like. So then I can set my intentions on looking at people and saying, hey, I see that you do the thing that kind of supports me. I like that you do that. I'm going to keep you around, instead of just kind of letting anybody come into my life and think, well, I kind of think you support me.
Right. And so along with supporting and I think that a lot of times we set out, oh, I want to be in a relationship. I would like to have a partner. I want to find love, and we have those feelings, and that the falling in love feeling is wonderful. And a lot of times it may look different. um like it's like the patterns of possibility, right? That this is exactly what you talk about in
Hmm.
relationships, those patterns. And that sometimes when we're thinking about what we don't want, right? We don't want to have what our relationship looked like before, right? And so then
Right.
we find
Hmm.
someone that looks different, um, that has a different job. There's so many things that look different. And if we have not dealt
Hmm.
with our own patterns, it the same thing will happen again. It's not about who,
Right.
it's
Exactly.
not about who we're with. It's about if we're dealing with our own patterns within ourselves as to what we're going to attract.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, what I got here is that um, the people who are contestants on The Bachelor, they really don't have any hope. So I just came out of nowhere with that. Like, I mean, it's been how many seasons, and no one's. I don't think any of them stick together. I don't know. I don't know, but it just seems like it's a pattern to me. Uh, So then we have established that, and we have established like there needs to be some introspection before we set intentions. That's
I
what it
think
sounds
that
like.
yes, I think there should be an introspection. And like you said, there's clarity on what it is that we want. And that's one of the first things that I ask my clients is what is most important in your life? And it's amazing that most of the people that I ask don't know the answer to that yet.
Oh yeah.
And whether they're 20 or 75. And so asking that question, what is most important in your life so that you can create the life that you most desire. If we don't know what that looks like, then how are we going to create that?
Exactly. It's like we're just kind of wandering around looking for something. Like I know I'll see it, and I know what it feels like. I know what it sounds like when I get to it. And it's like, well, do
And how
you?
are you going to get there if you don't have a, if you don't, it's not even to me a plan. It's just a vision of we create our lives. We create by our thoughts, our words, our actions, right? But it starts with those thoughts. And so if we're not thinking about what it is that we want, and we're just, I say this, it's we are manifesting constantly. We have manifested our whole lives. And are you manifesting what it is that you truly want?
It reminds me of The
Hmm.
Secret. And of course, yeah, a lot of people know about The Secret, manifesting and intention. Like, is that something that inspired you in this journey?
No, it didn't. That, I mean, I'm familiar with it, and the power of positive thinking. So that has inspired me along the journey, is knowing that your thoughts um, are are important. There's so many books. What inspired me along this journey and with this book was a client of mine who actually wrote the book with me, my intention book. And I don't even remember the moment that, like, what brought up setting intentions, but we just started setting intentions for each of her appointments. And so when she would go to, say, for example, there's a brain um, therapy called it's here in Nashville. It's called Harmonized Brain Centers, and they have low energy neurofeedback stimulation. And what it does is it helps to reset your brain. It helps to shift your neural pathways. Like, how we have, it's like a record player and you get the grooves of the thought patterns, and it's challenging to shift your thought patterns.
Hmm.
The lens helps to shift it quickly with low energy radio waves. We would set intentions to then create new thoughts. And so for her, she was able to shift out of chronic pain with that, and then had to create new, right? So it's kind of, I just came up with this yesterday. It's like going to the chiropractor. And you know how when the chiropractor gets you in alignment,
Hmm.
and if you go back to sitting the same way in the chair, or doing work the same way, or getting into your car and slouching down, that you're going to get out of alignment again. And you'll have to go back to the chiropractor more
Right.
quickly.
Right.
But if you start working on your posture and being intentional, right, about how you hold your body and
Hmm.
how you see your body, then your alignment, your adjustment will hold more. And so it's that same kind of thing.
Right.
And so that's how the intention movement started, was with a client and seeing how when she set intentions for that doctor's appointment, for the phone call, even to find the next step along her journey, that it made a difference and
Hmm.
that she saw the results when she saw the the outcome already, then she would get that outcome. And so her health dramatically improved so quickly and rapidly because
Yeah.
of intentions. And so I saw that, and then I saw how someone else that may have the same tools, may be seeing the same practitioners that did not believe the intentions, how they didn't have the same outcomes.
Hmm.
And so it was such a stark difference to me that I saw that, wow, to encourage people to set their intentions is so important, um, that it can really shift.
Yeah, so when you talk about that, it made me think of like the placebo effect. Essentially, it's like you have to really be like you believe that this is going to work for you, so it's going to work for you. If you're mindful about how you, of course, I like this the chiropractor analogy because if you're mindful about how you're sitting up, then you well, I you know I'm slouching right now. 'Cause-
Well, sit up
but
straight.
if you're
Yep.
mindful about how you sit up, then you're gonna sit up straight, chest out. All right. um, and mindful of that, just it makes it so much easier, and eventually you won't have to be mindful of it either. It will just your body will like you don't have to think about slouching.
It becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And it takes time to build a habit. It takes time to change our thoughts. It takes time it takes time to change our actions, right? And so sometimes you may not believe yet that I am worthy. You know, you may not necessarily and it takes faith. It's like if I'll bring up the gardening again, that I am planting this little seed, and how can I know that that seed, that one seed, is going to bring me hundreds of green beans and thousands of new seeds? It's the faith, right? Having faith that and planting the seeds, watering them. And that's part of the book. In this book, I we write, plant a seed of intention, water it with gratitude, and you can change the world. It's
Hmm.
planting that seed, watering it with faith and gratitude, and you can change the world.
Yeah, definitely. Gratitude, watering with gratitude. Now, I'm gonna tell you, I I have a moment. So this is all coming from me and my background and my history with uh my patterns in religion. And I hear intention and faith, and I almost my head almost exploded when you said faith, just because I've just kind of dismissed religion, and that's just one of those things that triggers me because of my experiences, right? And so when you say that, you mean like do you have faith in it as like you're going to trust in some other being, like maybe a god of some sort or some other maybe universe, or are they all the same? What does that mean to have faith?
Oh, wow. What a big, wonderful question. So, for me personally, I am a Christian, and so I believe in God and I believe in Jesus. And so that faith is, from the Bible, and faith like the size of a mustard seed, right?
Hmm.
And it's so interesting, and I'm happy to talk about religion because I don't have those triggers, because I was raised without religion. I wasn't raised going to church. And I was born in Japan. I studied Buddhism for a while. And so I'm coming to my faith at an older age and really coming into my own so I don't have the triggers of it. So to me, it doesn't matter whether someone is Christian or Buddhist or Muslim or anything like pagan. It doesn't matter to me what you call it, where it comes from for you. That I think just having faith, believing, really, I mean, faith is believing in something that you don't see, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so planting a seed is, and even thoughts, we don't see our thoughts, right? We don't see these
Right.
intentions. We don't see these things. And yet we see that it does create the life that we have, right? And so why
Yeah.
not be more intentional about what it is that we think and say and do to create the life that we want instead of creating we are creating anyways. That's what I mean by manifesting. Like we are manifesting whether it's intentional or not.
Right, right. And so it's not about, like I said, it's not about, well, like you said, it's not about the whatever you call it. It's just about having that belief in whatever it is. So it could be this, it could be that, it could be the other.
It
So
can, yes, and I do want to explain though. It's interesting because coming from it's there are the differences um in like the new age I am, right? Versus from
what does it mean?
okay, like it's so most of the intentions that I set are I am, I am healthy. I am in a healthy relationship. I am in a healthy, loving, nourishing relationship that has honest communication and nurturing and nourishing my body, mind, and soul. Okay. So
Okay.
it is in the I ams, right? And it's interesting to see and even for me to grow and develop and process this because um I've had people say, oh, the I ams, like that we are I am and that it's separate from God or whatever higher power that there is, right? Whatever
Gotcha.
you want to
Okay.
call it. And to me, now it is, I am all of these things because God is within me. Does that make sense? That I am
Hmm.
connected to all that there is.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. One is more like I am autonomous, but one is I am because I am part of a higher power or a higher being.
And that we are all one. It's like the universal laws, right? There's the universal laws, and the first one is of oneness. Like we are all one.
Yeah, yeah, I believe that too. I believe in that. I believe we're all connected, and that's why people who are alone just really have a hard time, because they really need to be around other people, and we want to be connected. It's just our natural thing because we're like it's like I guess having your body missing an arm. We're back like a better analogy right here. But you want that to be attached. You need it. You need it. And well, you don't need it, but whatever.
Yeah, we do need it. That's why we are people. Like we need we need that, right? Because if you think about in jail, that what is the worst punishment that's there besides, the death sentence? It's solitary confinement.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. It is a terrible punishment. I mean, just to be alone. I know what it feels like to be alone and being in a crowd, so it's
Yes.
awful. It's awful. And imagine just having no touch or anything like that. So then I've got to ask you then, Well, thanks for like clearing that up for me because I know I have my own hangups with it, and so I find it fascinating though that you have chosen to pick up a different belief system, and so did I. We both chose something different. That's so interesting. So, like, how did that come about for you to like change? Was there something significant in your life that just made a change?
I've always, or I can't say that I've always. I remember seeking and asking, and I've had friends that their parents were pastors, and I could, because I didn't believe in probably I didn't believe in probably what happened to you with religion. Like I didn't believe in a hell and damnation, like if you do this you're going to go to hell, or if you
Yeah.
are this, I knew that did not resonate with me. And and um and so I would ask questions, and I really would seek that. And then I went and studied Buddhism. The thing that really didn't resonate with me, there's a lot that did resonate with me with Buddhism, and that's do unto others, kind of like if you want something in life, you give it, and then
Hmm.
you'll receive it. Like, be what it is that you want. And so there's so many things that I did like it, but I didn't like feeling like that you have to go through someone else to get where you want to go. Um,
Oh.
and that's, and maybe there
Hmm.
are different teachers, like there is for everything. It's kind of like if you go to a different
Absolutely.
church, right? and
Hmm.
and so then the churches that I have found, um like here in my community, it was all about your relationship with God. And it wasn't, I haven't been to a church was that was a condemning church. I've chosen churches that it's about your relationship. And so that's been really important to me. And so I have my relationship with God, and I love it.
Definitely. It definitely makes sense too because you know it's like like anything in life, if you work for something, you're going to appreciate it a lot more. And so it's this idea of that. Well, when I was young, my parents gave me all my beliefs, and I was like, I grew up and I'm like, I don't like those. And it's like the same for you, and you had the opportunity to say, well, you know what, heaven and hell, that doesn't really sound right to me, but all this other stuff is great. So you can pick all that stuff up and be like, yeah, I'm going to accept it. And it is your belief now. It's not something that somebody just gave to you and said, here you go. This is how the world works.
Right. And I think that everyone does that, right? That's part of becoming. That's why, as a, so I have 5 kids, and I watch how my kids will, it's like there's a certain time where I don't know anything, right? And that
Hmm.
I don't know anything to them because they are finding what it is that they believe. It's no longer my beliefs. To me, teenagers are kind of like in that, when you talk about terrible twos, and the 2 year olds, all it is that they are wanting to see who they are, right? At 2 years old, they're now able to walk and starting to talk, and their identity. And so same
Hmm.
thing in teenagers, that it's again, they're finding their identity. And so my what I've taught them and what I've believed is like, they push back on that, and so that they
Oh,
can
okay.
find their identity. And so you may at some time come to, okay, this, the part that some of what your parents taught was legitimate. It's okay. Like, I'm gonna, yeah, I did it too, where it was like
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Everything that my parents did was bad, and I can't believe how they raised me. And
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah,
they did the best they can with what they had, and I understand my parents did the same things too as well. And so some of those things that they have taught or we've learned when we're younger, it's just something that is like universal. Like we were talking about, we were just like kind of comparing Buddhism and Christianity here just a moment, because there are a couple of things that resonate with you throughout, like doing something for someone else or be the person you want to see in the world. And I believe those are things that are held widely in different religions and different circles of thought. It's basically like kind of the core thing is what we're getting at. And one of the things that is usually instilled in you, like when your parents teach you something, they're like, here you go, this is one thing that you can keep with you and take with you no matter what your beliefs are in the future. The parents will give you something like that this is something that you can really learn and you can hang on to. So your kids may be doing this thing where they're learning something different and new and experiencing the world and thinking, well, this isn't like that anymore. I have my own beliefs, and they push back on yours. So I used, like you said, that's natural. So I've never heard it from a parent's side point of view. Like, how is that for you to experience that?
No, what a great question. Part of me wants to say, "Oh, it's okay, I understand it." But sometimes it's hurtful. Sometimes it's like, and it triggers inside of me the enough thing. Have I done enough? Am I enough? Am I a good
Hmm.
enough mom? Right? And
Right.
and so it does bring that up in me, and then I have to process and realize, okay, I know I'm doing the best that I can with what I have. Like I'm a very intentional parent. Um, and does it always work? Does it always, is that always the best way? Probably I know it's not. I mean, it's like when I got divorced, when I was married, it was very controlling, and we all had to be good, and we all and I lived in a life of wanting everything to be okay, and wanting everyone and everything to be okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that led to quite a bit of suppressing what we thought and felt, and our authenticity. And so then when when I got divorced, it was pretty wide open of wanting them to be able to express, and even going through some of that, the what I had mentioned before, the low energy neurofeedback stimulation to lift some of that suppression. And then a lot came up and out, and it was challenging. And so how I did it, and in the time that I did it, I hindsight is 2020, right? Hindsight's always 2020. And that I could have supported it in a different way. Like I could have done the low energy neurofeedback and then communicated with the counselor, and knew what we were working on so that it would be more supported and kind of slow that process down some. Um, so
Right, because you're I wanted to be facetious here, like, right, because you're an expert and you've done this many times before. No, it's actually not that. It's like you have kids and there is no manual that comes out with them.
I
There's no
know.
manual
Can
that
we
comes out
write
with
that?
us.
It's like I really wish that there was a manual on how to raise kids and how to be a parent, how to be an adult, even.
Yeah, adulting. There we go. It's so it's such a phenomenon that we had to invent a word for the shock it is to become an adult. It's like, this is an adult thing I have to do, and it doesn't always sound like it's a fun thing. But I want to go back and look at this idea with you and your kids, and I was thinking, wow, that my thoughts over here was like, wow, that is pretty amazing for you to adjust to that kind of thing, like, because you and your family are under this pressure, and I envision when you're holding in your emotions like a beach ball underwater, like it's gonna come out. And but when it does, you hold it down, the longer you hold it down, the bigger the splash and all that. So I imagine all of that happened. And you were willing to sit there and just kind of drown in the flood, or be flooded, and hear all their feelings, hear all their emotions, and be accountable for that stuff. And a lot of parents choose not to do that. And they choose to kind of say, well, it was the best I can with what I have. Yes, okay, yes, you did the best you could with what you had. But now I'm bringing you some new information. And so you have something more, you have something better to work with. So let's work with that. And it's like, you did that. So I would think that just by looking at this, your overall intention for your kiddos would be that they grow up and be healthy, thoughtful adults.
We're working on it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We're
well, well, because you're open and honest, so you were absolutely honest about how hurtful it could be to have your thoughts dismissed. I can imagine that too, because just having my ideas dismissed, like, oh, I've got a great idea in a group project or something like that, and they're like, nah, it's dumb. And I'm like, all right, you guys suck. I don't want to hang out with you ever again. But it's like they're kids, and they're like, well, you're a part of me. What do you mean you don't like this? What is that? And so it's another level that I will not experience, but I can imagine, like, wow, and you still want to talk about it. So that's what I find like really impressive.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a constant, I am constantly learning from them. They are my greatest teachers, my greatest mirrors. They teach me all the time. And I think the the part of it that I'm learning to embrace more is that it doesn't have to be what I think it should be, or that I really want just to allow them to be who they are as much as they can be who they are, not who they think that I want them to be. And so there's quite a bit of
Mm-hmm.
undoing of that, because it was, meant like we were married for 20, well, we were together for 24 years. Like it was my now 17-year-old was 15. And so that's 15 years of programming that takes some
Mm-hmm.
time to unprogram, which is such an interesting thing, because I would love to talk about this a little bit, because it this is what you do, and where I thought that once he was out of the picture that all those programs would be gone.
Yeah.
and and that's not the case. Like that I saw that some of the roles, like that we shifted to take up that energy of that space, that programming, that other people would fill those roles.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a little bit?
So for example, for him, I this is getting personal and deep. So it's kind of interesting and a little uncomfortable. And so I always wanted to keep him happy. And but that wasn't my job, right? So that's codependency.
Yeah.
It took me a while
Yeah.
to admit codependency, because I'm like, I'm not dependent on him. Like yes. And so it took me a while to be like, oh my gosh, this was some codependency. And so even that codependency of trying to make sure that and the being okay, right? So I was like, well, that wasn't okay, but then I saw that I was still trying to make everything okay with my kids. I want them to be okay,
hmm
right? Even in that allowing stuff to come up, my it was still so that they'd be okay, right? But then
Oh,
that
okay.
there's that it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be happy and sad. It's okay do. Someone had said to me that that so um, just about mistakes, and that not wanting them to learn, not wanting them to make mistakes, right?
Right,
And
right,
hey, I can tell you so that you don't make your own mistakes, or watch that person so you don't make your own mistakes, but that's not life, right? That's part of how we
right.
learn. And so allowing all of those things, and
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I have to say kudos to you, first of all, for saying, you were uncomfortable and still sharing anyway. I always appreciate that because that's the thing I do. I say my feelings if I'm stuck and all that. And it shows like you are really in tune to your emotions and who you are and what you're feeling, and you can express it, which always makes me feel safe. It sounds like you still wanted to be a bit in control of the situation. That's like, I want everybody to be okay because you want everybody to be okay. And then so you learned in this process that being okay looks like something other than what I thought.
right, and being okay is not being authentic, and
Yes.
that it is okay to feel all the emotions. Like, I wanted to, you and I have talked about toxic happiness, right? That
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
when you said toxic happiness, I was like, oh my gosh, that blew my mind. And so can we talk about that for a second? What does toxic
Sure.
happiness look like?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do it. You want me to say
Yeah, I
it?
do.
Okay. Oh yeah. Well, toxic happiness sounds like the thing that I was trying to do as well. Just make everything be positive in a positive light. See everything as one dimension emotion. I'm just happy about everything. A person that I cared for, they died. Well, I'm happy that they were alive in the first place. Well, sure, you can be happy about that. But also, you do have a deep underlying feeling, actually, that should come right to the surface of sorrow and sadness. And it's dealing with that and not dealing with it, pushing it down like that beach ball. Then you'll find it come out in different ways. You'll find that you're ill equipped to do anything essentially. Like really make connections with people, like you said, being authentic.
Yeah, that was a perfect, like, it totally brought me in because my mom passed away about a year ago. And it was that toxic happiness of, I had to see everything so positively, and oh, it was, she wanted to my mom was ready to go. She was so ready to go. It was really a beautiful experience. It was a perfect death, I guess, if you want to call it that. Like, and I was able
Okay.
to see, like, she was so beautiful and peaceful, and she chose the way she wanted to go, and it was incredible. And so I saw all, and I truly do believe all of those things, but it was kind of
Of
that
course.
toxic, like trying to make it all so good. And
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be. And it took a while for me to, it took a series of kind of things, and I think that's what God does. Is it's like, okay, for me to finally grieve that, and grieve my marriage,
Yeah.
and grieve so many different things that all kind of came. But um it was that toxic happiness of trying to make everything okay and be happy and be supportive and be blah 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 blah, all of these things,
Hmm.
instead of being authentic, being me, being happy and sad and angry and glad, all of those things that they are. Why do we look at it like that one is good and one's bad? I know that because there are those words for them, but if we can look at them all with curiosity, if we can look at them all with gratitude, if we can look at them all and just say that they are, um,
Yeah. Then we wouldn't. I think we would be more likely to try things and to learn more about ourselves if we start discovering our own things. That's the whole process. Is looking for things, being curious, like you said, curious about what's here. What am I going to find? What inside? What are my feelings? What was so distressing? Distressing. I don't know if that's a good word. Yeah, maybe distressing to look at the sadness that is there. Because I remember doing everything I could not to look at whatever was sad. I don't know what was causing it. I know I was feeling it, so I was feeling it a whole lot, but I didn't know what was causing it. I was more curious about it. I could appreciate it, and it didn't adversely affect me. It kind of energized me to be curious about what's going on there. And so, with your relationship and any relationship, of course, you feel sad when I'm looking back at, your divorce and your mother passing, and like, it's sadness. You miss them, even though it wasn't always fantastic. It was a connection that you had, and that's all we all want to do is be connected and understood.
You know, isn't it interesting sometimes? So in my marriage, and even my kids have talked about this too, that it's sometimes we grieve the story of what we had wanted more so than the reality of it. Does that make
We're
sense?
gonna put that on a t-shirt. We're putting it on a t-shirt. We're gonna put that on a t-shirt. Yeah, I think that goes on a t-shirt along with set your intentions. So your story matches or something like that, Set your make your story intentional. Or something like that. I think definitely that is right on the money. I'm like, I have so many relationships where I'm like, man, if we could have just did X, Y, and Z, we could have everything. And I'm a
Yes, yes, yes.
if you just weren't the person you were, we could have
We
everything.
would have had a beautiful relationship and we'd still be together.
Perfect.
If it was that
So
story, then it would have been perfect.
exactly. We're right back at The Bachelor again. Same thing. It just doesn't work there. Um, so they think they want. So uh, I really enjoyed chatting with you. I like this idea of gratitude. You talked about gratitude, and I've heard the theme come up several times. And like gratitude and curiosity, it comes up when you're talking about what you've learned from your marriage. You're grateful from that, and your kids and your own experiences. You look into them, and you seem to be very observant because you picked up some inspiration for intentionality from watching another person and their experiences and just kind of taking it in. So I wanted to say when I first met you, though, because we talked about intention so much, that I was like, oh boy, intention, because I have this thing about intention and impact. And I'm always like, always people focusing on intention. You have to focus on the impact. So I thought for sure we were going to have some kind of interesting argument or something, but we ended up having a nice discussion about it. And so what I've discovered is that intention is definitely a trigger thing for me because of my experiences, but it's not in the form of, well, I did something and I may have upset you, but you have to focus on my intentions that as a way to get out of jail. But that's not what you're saying here. For intention, you're saying, I am going to set my intentions and my goals, but I'm also kind of going to be responsible for what comes out of it because it seems like you are also responsible for anything that you've done. I hear you saying that. I see you saying that. So you're going to be intentional about what you do, but if it doesn't work out the way I wanted to, that's okay. I can set another intention and go for it, but be mindful of the impact that you've had. And I really like that. So I'm going to adopt that for me. I'm going to take that with me and keep it as my own. So thanks for that.
Yeah, and be intentional about the impact that you want to have, right?
Oh, yeah.
That we are all making an impact. And so I think that how we talked about it was that, oh, I didn't intend for you to feel that way, right? That wasn't my
Yeah.
intention for
Yeah.
to hurt you. And and that's an interesting when I started to look into that deeper, I really thought about how our thoughts and our words and our heart and our intentions and our actions all need to be in alignment to truly get what it is that we really be very clear, right? And that we'll get there faster. If it's all in alignment, that it's going towards the same thing. And because you've seen that sometimes someone's heart may not be what their words are, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I've
Yeah,
had that. Like
definitely.
people will say stuff all the time and it doesn't, but it's, or that they'll say it, but they won't do it,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
you can spot the frenemies. You can spot frenemies from a mile away if you like. They're like, "Oh, girl, that's a nice shirt. Nice shirt." You know that that's a frenemy. Their heart was, you know, that those words didn't match up with what they were feeling. You
Yes.
know, so it's like that, and it's like so when you're out there and you're setting your intentions, it's like you need to be focused, kind of like if you are darting back and forth from screen to screen, or multitasking, right? You're going to have a more difficult time getting to where you want, because you're looking at one screen, you're looking at the next screen, you have to remember what you did on the last screen, you go back to that, and it's just, you just got to get focused in
Mm,
alignment.
yes, focused is great. And focused in your thoughts and that your words match your thoughts and then
Yes.
setting your intentions and that that's in alignment with your heart and of course actions because actions we have to have that energy moving forward.
Absolutely. So then, with that said, and is there something that you can share with us for like setting intentions? How do we get ourselves aligned like that?
I love that question. So I think one is being aware of your thoughts. The first thing is knowing what it is that you want and need. Like want and need. That it's both and they're both valuable. Then asking for it and asking clearly for what it is that you want and need. So the first one is knowing, the second one is asking for it, and whether that's in prayer or asking a specific person. And so there's both. And sometimes that was a challenging step for me, being willing to receive it, which is also sometimes challenging, isn't it? That it's like
Definitely.
we can pray for something or we can ask for something, but actually being willing to receive it, it took me a while to learn that. And even and sometimes it was painful to learn to receive.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I have a real quick story. About a couple of weeks ago, I was competing in the competition, and I wanted people to come, but I didn't want to ask them to come. And someone pointed it out to me, like, why am I blocking this? I don't know. I just casually mentioned in conversation. He was like, well, where is it? What's going on with it? I want to come. Why aren't you talking about that? And then it was this whole kind of breakthrough, and it's like, oh yeah, 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 I don't want to ask people for anything. um
Yes. Yeah,
yeah, but I do want to be the person to give it, and I do want to support people when I see them doing things. So it would stand to say that people out there feel just like me. When they see my stuff, they want to support it. So why not put it out there? So that's what I came up with. But it's a process.
it is a process, and sometimes it can be painful to have to ask
Hmm.
for things that we want and need. And it's like even in a relationship of asking, being clear, okay, I want quality time or I want communication and having to ask for that and then being willing to receive that honest communication, for example.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that's, so that is so important that you put it in those terms, because
Yes.
you definitely have to be ready to. But you told me you wanted me
Yep.
to, and you did.
Exactly.
You're like, well, what to do? What am I gonna do? You said you wanted me to do this. Oh,
Yes. Yeah. And so then receiving it, being grateful for it, and then giving back. And then it kind of keeps that cycle flowing. I just received yesterday a 5-minute journal, and in that 5-minute journal, it is talking about, and it was amazing how that came to me because it's exactly what I do. List 3 things that you're grateful for, list 3 I am statements, and 3 intentions. And you do those things in the morning, and then at night you list, I think it's 3 things um, that went well, like that you're excited about, that you received that day. And then I think it's 3 things that, or I don't know if it's specifically 3 things, what could have made today better.
I really like those because it is creating awareness about you and your surroundings. It's kind of forcing you to, um, not forcing you, but motivating you to recognize things that you may not think about on a day to day basis. Like, what could have been better about the day? Or what did I do well in the day? Many of us don't lay our heads down and think about that unless it's some really significant event. But otherwise, you get to know these really small things about yourself that you notice. Like, yeah, you know what? If I had just gotten the cookies and cream ice cream instead of the vanilla, I would have had a better time. Doing this is knowing what you want. And so it's helping you get to that goal.
Yes.
So can you say those 5 things again for us one more time?
One is knowing what it is that you want and need. 2 is asking for it clearly. 3, be willing to receive what you ask for. 4, be grateful for it. 5 is give back.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And the journal that you're talking about, I wonder if you could just give us an example of, now you said there were 3 things to say in the morning. Can you give us an example of one of each?
Yeah, so I am grateful for the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Yay.
and, and so that is my gratitude. 2 is I am. I am speaking clearly and confidently. Um, so that's an
Hmm.
I am statement. It's a positive I
Definitely.
am statement so that when I come onto your podcast that I speak clearly and I'm confident. An intention is that this podcast reaches millions of people and makes a difference in their lives, that they learn to set intentions for themselves so that they can live a healthier, happier, and more productive life.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. That was wonderful. I really like that, especially the last one about just, it just feels so energetic.
Right. And you can see it. Right. And you can and see, and when we set those intentions, it really does make a difference for how we live. I mean, living, and it's like when we look at what is most important to us, then it makes each day more valuable, more important. We're not just putting out fires or doing what screams the loudest to us. We're
Hmm.
okay, it is important for me to have my mornings. And when I have my mornings and do my morning routine, I am way more productive and patient and loving and caring versus if I'm not fueling myself and feeding myself with that, then I am on edge and I am drained and I don't have as much to give.
That's right. I mean, I've heard someone say, I think it was, I don't remember who said it, but if I can't cook a meal for you if I haven't cooked a meal for myself to nourish myself. Something along those lines. I
Yes.
think I ruined the quote, but you know
No,
what I'm
that's
going with.
perfect. That
Yes,
is so perfect. It's whether they say it that way or that, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can put it on someone else so that you're alive. I mean, we could do another
exactly.
whole podcast on this because it means so much to me because I would say it as a coach to other people, and I would tell them to put the oxygen mask on themselves. I would tell them they've got to fill their own cup first, and I was still I was living, running on fumes. And so I have just recently truly filled up and am coming from a space of overflowing energy and love and abundance. So that would be a whole other show.
Yeah, I could have asked a couple of questions that would have taken us right down that road.
Yes.
More questions, and like a couple of questions popped up. But yes, we have been talking for some time, and we should probably wrap it up here. So then, just I'm curious, and I'm sure everyone else is curious. So where can they find you?
So the best place to find me right now is on Instagram, which is at Karina KOLTAI. It's KARINA KOLTAI, and you can find me the same on Facebook as well. I share information. I've got my books on there, as well as intention stickers, and my intention book.
Gotcha. Oh, that's fantastic. So, this intention book, you referenced it a couple times. Can you tell us a little about what it is?
Yes, it is a book that with intentions. And so it's teaching people to set their intentions. Today, I plant the seed of positive growth. I am loved. I speak my truth clearly and confidently. I know that I am responsible for my own happiness. I forgive others. I forgive myself. And so it is a launching pad, and it's got instructions on how to set intentions, that you do it 10 times, you say it 10 times, 3 times a day, so that you can it's reprogramming your mind.
Yeah.
And so you pick one intention each day, and you can either flip through and just pick a random one, or pick one that you feel that you need that day. And
Hmm.
so it's really a very simple, it's like a 6 by 6 beautiful black and white book, and to be
It's made to
clear
carry everywhere.
and yes, and easy, and is a great gift. It's a great coffee table book, or something that you can carry everywhere.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us and your intention and letting me talk about everything, all the thoughts that I had running through my head, even though they were, yeah, about religion and my own issues with that and intention and impact and everything. So I've got a lot. I learned a lot from this, and I'm actually absolutely grateful to have had this experience with you. So thank you
I
again.
am, yeah.
And we're definitely going to do this again.
Exactly. We've got to do it. We've got so many more conversations. We can talk about, and words, and how words trigger. And so we have lots of more conversations later.
Yes, we do. We do. All right, then I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Briefly in this episode, Karina and I talked about toxic positivity. So it stuck with me so much that I thought I would create another episode based on toxic positivity. I was going to do something like that maybe down the road, but it's going to come out this Friday. It just kind of goes hand in hand with this episode today. So this is the very first time I'm able to forecast the episode that I'm going to share with you on Friday, because I normally create them like a day before or the day of. I'm working towards getting out of that habit, so I hope to bring more stability and create a new pattern for myself. My name's Lee Hopkins, my pronouns are he, him, his, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. If you like what you're hearing, like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Instagram at Patterns of Possibility. I go live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you can find me at Patterns of Possibility on YouTube, LinkedIn, and other social medias. All right, until next time, take care.